Hello everyone, it's Angie here at Beads and Plenty More. Today I thought I'd show you how to do this crystal vine bracelet. So this bracelet that's got the little vines climbing over with the crystal in it. So this one we actually did up as a kit. So we've got it all done up for you. We've got this color combination, we've got the blue color combination, and the third kit color is going to be this pinky peachy tone. So I'll get started here and show you where we go. So I've got three meters of 6-pound fire line, and I've got a size 11 needle threaded on each end of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring each of my ends through a wire guardian. And we're going to slip the clasp into the middle of that. So I want to keep this in the middle of my work. All right, so I might just move these guys out of the way. And I'm going to pin it down because it makes the next step a little easier. So I've got a pin up here. I'm just going to poke it through my tablecloth to get it to stay. All right, so we'll sort out our thread here. And we're going to build the base layer. So this base layer, I'm going to grab 3 seed beads on each of my threads here. So these are size 10 seed beads. And then I'm going to grab one of the 4mm glass pearls here. I'm going to take one each way. So one needle went one way, one needle goes the other way. And I'm going to pull it all down into the center. So there's my first one. Then I'm going to grab one glass pearl on each of my threads. And one that I'm going each way through. So that creates my little diamond of beads. So I'll continue working this up until I get to the other end, and then we'll talk about how to add that end. So I'm down at the other end now. I'm working to a 7.5 finished length, and if I count down the one side, I count the glass beads down the one side, I should have 25 of them. So these 3 are extra, and I'm going to put 3 of my size 10 seed beads on each of my threads here. And then I'm going to take the wire guardian and the other side of my clasp, and I'm going to come up and through it with my one thread. And I'll make sure I hook the clasp in because you don't want to forget that. I'm just going to pull everything tight here. And then I'm going to take the other thread and I'm going to come through the other direction. So this can get a little complicated because there's quite a bit of thread here. And the next step is going to be just to go through those 3 seed beads that you come to as you come through. So I'm just going to run through them while I've got the thread here. Move that one out of the way. And with my first one, I still need to go through the 3 seed beads. So, and I looped my thread over the clasp. So we'll get it all sorted out. And then I want to make sure everything's good and tight. And one thing you have to watch with these wire guardians is that your thread actually ends up in the channel of the wire guardian and not outside of it. Because the one thread was sitting outside of it, so it was there. So they're both in the channel now. They're not going to be sitting, you're not going to see thread there. And I'm going to pick up a size 8 seed bead, so that's the larger size one, and come through my 4mm glass bead here. So in the interest of keeping everything nice and tight, I'm going to do that same thing on the other side. There we go. So now I'm ready to work down the sides, and I'm working just with one of my threads. So being left-handed, I'm going to work on the left side here. I'm going to grab one of the size 8 seed beads and 3 of the size 10 seed beads. So then I'm going to circle my thread around, and I'm going to come back through the size 8. So if you're trying to figure out which direction to stitch through that size 8, you want to stitch towards your size 10 seed beads to make that circle. And then I'm going to come through the next of my glass beads here, my 4mm glass beads. So what that ends up doing is it ends up creating a little picot, which I'm not sure you're going to be able to see real well in that color, but in this one you can see it. It's the edge here, the little picot edge. So I'm going to work that up both sides of my bracelet, and when I get to the other end, the other clasp end, I'll show you the next step. So I've worked my beads up both sides now, and what I'm missing in this area here is I'm missing 2 size 8 seed beads, because I did that on the other end. There's 2 little size 8 beads here. So I'm going to take one of my threads, and I'm going to take and run through at 1 size 8 seed bead, come through those 3 size 10s, and we're going to go around the wire guardian. So up the one side of it, try not to catch the clasp in it, and down the other side. So again, make sure that that ends up in the channel, not popping out. Come down the 3 seed beads, and I'm going to add that missing size 8 seed bead. And at this point, I am done with this particular thread. So I'm just going to take it through a few of my beads. And I'm going to tie a couple slip knots. So I'm slipping under the thread here, which creates a loop, and I'm just going to go through my loop. So we'll maybe tie another one right there. And then because I don't like to cut right next to my knot, I am going to weave through a few of my beads to get away from that knot before I actually cut my thread. So any direction. This is extra thread now, so if you happen to have something that you stitched a bit loose and you want to tighten it up, you could take it over to that area and stitch through anything you needed to stitch through. But at this point, we do have scissors here. I'm going to trim that one off because we're done. All right, so the other thread is going to do all the work on the top. So I'm going to take this thread and I'm just going to come through my end 4mm glass bead. Which puts it in the right position to be able to add the next beads. So instead of working up and down, I'm going to work side by side. I'm going to add 2 seed beads, so 2 size 10 seed beads, my crystal bead, and 2 more size 10 seed beads. And actually, I think I'm going to flip it over and go the other way because I like to stitch up. So my thread is coming out the top there. I'm going to bring it to the bottom of the next one in the center. So the next of the 4mm glass beads, and stitch straight up again. So there we go. That's the first one on. So 2 size 10s, crystal, and then 2 more size 10s. And I'm going to come just through the next of the glass ones. So I'll work that all the way along, and that's the end of the bracelet. Have a good day.